Welcome to the Digital Marketing Blueprint. My name is Brandon Dietrich, Principal at Social Assurance Media. We developed this resource exclusively for owner-operators and marketing teams alike, specifically in the B2B space. Yes, many of these tactics we discuss can be applied successfully to B2C as well. However, they are developed specifically for you and by you. We are committed to making this podcast a resource to help you with campaign ideas, tools, templates, techniques, trainings, free software, and so much more. So today we have Craig Diaz with us. And Craig, for those of you who don't know him, has functioned in both the B2C and B2B markets. And he's a serial entrepreneur, really has an understanding for branding. And I think there's going to be a lot of great little nuggets that you guys can take away for implementation in your companies or your marketing teams as well when it comes to branding. I'm excited to jump right in here. You can go download a copy of your digital marketing blueprint at socialassurancemedia.com/roadmap. Again, socialassurancemedia.com/roadmap to follow along and leverage not just for these episodes, but in your own program creation as well. If this is your first time here, then an extra special welcome to you. I would love to hear from you. I would really appreciate if at the end of the episode, you could let us know how it supported you and what you would like to hear more of in the future. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the one and only Craig Diaz. Hey Craig, tell us a little bit about what your role is currently as a branding strategist.
So my role as a branding strategist is to help salespeople and businesses come up with a plan that will help their business grow. Not only that, to help give them a clear mission statement when it comes to their clients and how they can put their value across to their clients, to help their clients see, what they're about exactly.
Awesome, man. And just prior to doing this, because, I understand that this is a pretty new venture for you. What were you doing just prior to this?
Yeah, so I'm currently full-time a real estate salesperson for a brand company called Professionals. But prior to that, I've owned about 3 different businesses. One was a car detailing business, mobile. One was a grooming company. And the other one, which is sort of my side hustle, if you like, that runs in the background, is a waste oil filter collection and disposal service.
Oh, very neat. And maybe can we dig in on that one a little bit? I think you mentioned that it was the most recent one, the waste fuel collection and disposal. What were you doing there?
Yeah, so basically with that, it was an existing business. It wasn't doing very well. So my wife and I bought the business, and we basically sat down and created a brand strategy going forward and how we want to get out and portray ourselves to potential clients or just to the general public and other businesses. And within the first about 6 months, I grew my database on my clientele by 30%.
Wow, that's pretty awesome. And, obviously you say it's an existing business that probably didn't have a very strong brand originally. Was that primarily a company selling B2B, I presume, in order to, basically attain the waste fuel?
Yeah, so we it's mainly business to business sales. We deal with our clientels range from tractor selling or servicing companies to full-on truck and trailer companies, right down to small motor vehicle, normal cars servicing. So purely business to business.
That's awesome, man. Well, and so, sort of when you rebranded that, we'll say, because, of course, going from a not so great brand to then, a strategic, structured brand, as you say, what role did digital marketing play in that? Was that able to help you get your brand out there? Or what role did that play?
It played a major role, or should I say a vital role, in getting growing the business. Obviously, I did the normal, true, tried and tested, which was the door knocking, and that worked very, very well. But also to reach those customers which we probably never even heard of or didn't know existed. Social media marketing was absolutely critical. My wife, she recorded videos of me doing the processing, emptying out the oil from the truck. Short little 1-minute videos, put it onto Facebook and boost it around or create a campaign. And we were able to get more clients from that as well. And also a good thing about branding yourself really well is that when you do look for employees, your business comes across more attractive to them. So they want to come and work for you. So it was very, very important.
Absolutely, man. Well, and when you sort of started out with that, what was your initial goal when you purchased the company and rebranded it?
So when we purchased the company, like I said, it was existing, but it wasn't doing very, very well. The company, before we took over, was surviving on the money that they got from the scrap metal. Now, the scrap metal prices have changed here, and it probably has around the world. And so we had to come up with a plan to make the business, earn money, because everything costs money, as you know. And so we came up with a plan to, charge customers bin rentals and then charge them for a pickup. And we investigated what other companies were doing. And we said, well, look, we want to come across as a fair priced, reasonable company. We don't like to lock people into contract. And so that's what we did. We avoided the whole contract scenario that most companies like to do. In a way, you could say earn money for doing nothing. And what we did was we only charged them for a bin rental. So it didn't matter how many bins they had, but then we charged them for a pickup. So it was designed in such a way so that we could still earn in the long run, good income, revenue still coming in. But then we still earned when we went and collect or emptied their bin. So we structured the business very, very well, and it's still doing quite well at the moment. So that's good.
Well, and so, obviously here, for the podcast, the Digital Marketing Blueprint, one of the things that we always like to dig into is, primarily around the role that, as you had mentioned, social media advertising. So those of you listening who might be following along with your Digital Marketing Blueprint, you'll see that, of the outreach strategies, of course, social media marketing, social media advertising is one of those, sometimes at the top of the funnel to get new eyeballs. So on over to you, Craig. When you started your campaign, of course, as you mentioned with, the videos that you guys were creating and posting them on social, trying to get some buzz. What was the first 60 or, 90 days like when you initially started that campaign?
So when we first initially started that campaign, the first thing was going through our mind, like most business owners do, is like, oh my goodness, are people going to click onto this? Do people actually want this? But what we did was I could see the benefits in what it was doing for the environment. And so what we were doing was critically important, was stopping the oil from harming, the environment and going to landfill, harming and the risk of it harming water or sea life and harming the vegetation. So what we did was really, really important to the country as a whole and the environment. And so we said, okay, so we approached the government and we said to them, hey, look, this is what we do. We save every month about 2,500 litres from going into the landfill or harming the waterways and vegetation. And they recognised the work that we do. And the company's now accredited by the Ministry for Environment. So that was the first achievement. And then we said, well, if the government can, see the benefits of what we do, and we've already, by this point, grew the customer database by about 10%, we said, well, maybe we should, get the message out there. And then that's when my wife decided to record small little videos, 30 seconds, a minute, just put it out there. And, we've got a nice little following there, and people responded to that. Let's just say once a week, I get a customer once a week.
Okay. Gotcha. So you really have, not just the KPIs at the end of it, it sounds like, where you're trying to, maintain not just a new lead, but a new customer a week. But it also sounds like, potentially you're evaluating this off of, maybe a double bottom line. So you have, of course, being profitable, but also the, benefit of the environment, if I'm hearing you correctly.
That's correct. Yeah. And so when you have a brand strategy, the main thing you want to do is find out, what it is about your business that is good. What is your mission statement? Because those are two different things. And then when you tie the two together, how you're able to create a revenue or get your message out there to make people want to use your business or your company.
That's awesome, man. So maybe let's dive in on that a little bit more. So I know obviously, it's proven, you've been successful in sort of that rebranding and, creating brand strategies. And now, of course, you're able to do that for other clients as well. Walk us through, what does it look like? Not what a bad brand looks like, but what does it look like when you have something existing? Maybe you're a new, chief marketing officer, who's come in, or a marketing director trying to rebrand something or launch a new campaign. How do you get started helping someone identify their brand and build it?
Well, basically, what you got to do is look at, what is the business, what is the industry, So you look at the industry, and then what you want to do is you then look at other competitors in the industry. Okay, so this is what I do. What do other people in my industry, what are they doing? How are they getting their message across? And so you look at first of all, what their message is. You look at how they're delivering their message. And then what you can then do is use that information to look at your own business brand or personal brand and see and find your point of difference, because that is the key thing to doing a brand strategy. Your brand strategy is talking about your brand, how you can dissect it, break it down so that it's easier for members of the public or other businesses to see clearly what it is that you do, and also to see the value of coming to you. And then once you've done that, then you have a plan moving forward. And if you've got a team as well, what you want to do is obviously find out your team members' strengths, and then work out how their strengths can help with the brand or different areas of promoting the brand, or finding out how they can get that message across.
That's great. So yeah, I think you really gave us an overall view there, which is awesome. Not just from, how you got started or how you get started with a rebranding, but all the way through how you create it and then carry it out with your team members. So that's great. Now, if we think about, maybe the most recent either campaign or most recent rebranding that you worked on, let's dissect the first step. So the competitive research is kind of what I understood that, or at least how we, could base some of our initial campaign research on. So, what does that look like for you? Do you identify just a couple of competitors in their local market and see the messaging that they're working off of, or are there any tools or tricks that you use that way?
Yeah, so what I did straight away was I found local competitors, or direct competitors, if you like, and I basically researched their company. And when I go around, I speak to some of their clients. If you have that ability to speak to some of their clients, and I go, okay, well, this is what I do. I know that you are probably, well, the customer chair, when I say, well, I'm currently using this company at the moment, and you go, oh, okay, well, how's that going for you? And then they might complain, or they might say, yeah, no, I'm quite happy with them. And you say, okay, could you just tell me a bit more about how they work? What do they charge? And then customers, when you get a true customer's feedback, that is gold. And what you want to do, you want to take that, because that's what you can use to build your brand off, you see. And then so once you've got the actual true feedback of a customer who's using that company, you then obviously go to the company's website or Facebook page or social media platform, whatever they're using, and then you're able to look at their point of difference, and then you can do your analysis of how you want to come across and how you want your customers to experience your brand.
Awesome. And yeah, I think one of the key points that you hit on there is, not just, trying to identify some of their customers and, really seeing it from the customer's eyes, but also like the experience, right? So not just what your brand says, but also, maybe how it makes the customer feel or the prospect feel. Is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. So, if you do have the chance to speak to a customer, you say, okay, well, what is it about that company that you liked? Some people say to you, oh, it's because the only one that was there, they were the only one that reached out to me, or I didn't know there was any other companies. I thought these guys were the only ones, So you're able to get this market research and use it to your own advantage.
Definitely. Okay. And maybe so after you have that market research, what's the next step? How do you actually implement that into, creating the words and the branding that your company runs with?
Yeah, so basically, once you've worked out the customer experience from another company, you worked out what they're about, the next thing that you want to do is look at what you've got on hand. So you want to look at your equipment if you've got them. You want to look at how it's coming across your business. What do people know about your business? What is your online presence like? For example, the first thing you want to look at is your website. Is your website nice? Is it fresh? Is it up to date? Is it relevant to the times? Because you'll be surprised that some competitors that are in the industry for a long time tend to neglect their website, tend to neglect that customers, don't really understand their message because time moves on, just in the same way how a dialect will evolve over time. And so that's one of the things you look at. So what does my business look like online? Does it look good? Does it look fresh? Is it applicable to the times? Is it attractive to potential clients? And so you look at all these things, and then you start looking at the processes from, okay, so when I meet my first customer, what is the first step? What is their first introduction to the company? And then you start building on from there.
That's awesome, man. And then, so if we're looking at it as a 3-step process, of course, you research and then you actually implement it. Now how do you actually begin getting that team buy-in? Because of course, that's sometimes where we see, all these plans work great on paper, but when you actually execute it, and you might have a team of, 5, 10, or 15 people working with you, on your department, how do you generate that team buy-in where people can be experts at what they're doing and not just trying to touch all the bases, check all the boxes?
Yeah, so the key thing is to actually work out what each team member's strengths are, as I mentioned before. So, we all excel in different areas, and some of us are terrible in certain areas. And I work along with my wife in this business, and my wife, she's very, very good with putting policies in place, procedures in place, and so the key thing is with a team, you want to make them, remind them that you are a team. No one's above each other. You're all here to accomplish the same goal, even though your roles are different, which is to carry out the brand, the culture of the brand, all the way through, right from the in-house, right through to when the customer comes across to or experiences the brand for the first time. And so once you find, just to say, you got a team member who's really, really good with talking with people on the phone or building relationships, honing in on that skill that they have, because they would be your first point of contact when a customer rings up and inquires of your business. Then you might have an individual who's really, really good, has lots of ideas, very creative, spontaneous with ideas. Well, obviously, this person would be your social media marketing or your content person to go to. This person will have lots of ideas on how to put your message across, maybe come up with videos, what to put in the videos, that sort of thing, And then you have another team member who's really, really good with paperwork, knows how to put things down on paper, to structure policies, procedures for other staff members or workers or drivers or what have you. And then obviously that's the person who you would call for doing your paperwork, your administrative stuff. So yeah, when you see all these different, qualities that these people excel in, you want to hone in on them and tie them all together and make them feel like they are a family, and the culture of the brand is a family.
Yeah, definitely, man. So I know you've been doing this for a little while now. If you think back to, maybe when you, purchased your last business, or, when you really started out with this whole, branding strategy, creating branding strategies, what do you wish you would have known when you first started? Are there any, key things that you really wish, you learned trial by, fire or trial by error almost sometimes?
Yeah, so, I guess a lot of the branding strategy I learned from my very first business, which was the mobile detailing. And because the business never really had a shop, it was a mobile van. And so the van was my advertising, and online I had my social media and the website and everything else as well. And so it was a lot of trial and error. I just thought, I can just go up to people and say, hey guys, this is what I do. You've got to love what I do, but that's not simply the case. And as time went on, I discovered that it's not the fact that I've got a service why people are coming to me. People are coming to me because, one, I turn up on time. Two, I do a really, really good job when it comes to cutting and polishing. And three, the customer experience from when they first call me, Craig, I'd like to book you in to do a job. Yep, sure. Book the appointment. I turn up on time. I do the job. I invoice them on time. And I've gone off, and it just repeats itself, you see? And so that's what creates the culture or the brand for the company. And it took me a while to get it, but then when I got it, I perfected it, and the business was successful.
That's awesome, man. So, what are you curious about now? What do the next few years have in store for you on your professional journey?
Yeah, so obviously being an entrepreneur, my mind is all over the place. So as I'm currently full-time real estate agent as well, and obviously I do brand strategist online as well. And so, as you know, the real estate market is really, really interesting, and technology that's coming out now is it's phenomenal. And also curious as to see how technology is going to play a major part in real estate going forward. It's an interest for businesses, but I'm keeping a close eye on it. But then also with the brand strategists as well, again, I'm looking to see how technology is going to play more of a vital role when it comes to people putting their brand across to potential customers and businesses.
That's great, man. Very exciting. Well, I just want to say thank you so much for, really sharing. Again, I know we covered a lot of ground here just due to your diverse, background and your diverse experience. However, I just appreciate the fact that, you were able to share not just theories about, how things could work or, oh, you definitely need a brand and, sharing the reasons why you do, but you actually dove into, hey, here's first, second, and third steps as far as again, maybe they're, simple things that we all know on paper, but oftentimes we just don't necessarily take the time to do maybe, or take the time with our teams to really generate that buy-in. So I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to share that today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, and thank you for having me on your podcast. It's a privilege to be here, and I'm sure your listeners will appreciate the information.
Absolutely. And just as we get ready to go here, if the listeners want to stay in touch with you, where do you typically hang out most online that they might be able to keep in touch?
Yeah, so you can find me on LinkedIn. I'm quite active on LinkedIn. If you're not on LinkedIn, I strongly suggest that you get yourself on there and get involved and learn and be humble when you're on that platform. LinkedIn has changed so much over the years. LinkedIn is now the most interesting I've ever seen it, the most active. It's no longer the what do you call it, the resume website as we used to think it is.
Mhm.
It's really, really changed. So you can actually find me on there, and I'm always posting content about branding and how you can do that. And yeah, so just type in my name, Craig Dias. You can find me on LinkedIn, or you can connect with me on my website, which is www.craigdias.co.nz.
That's awesome, man. Well, hey, thank you again so much for taking the time. Really appreciate it. And have a great day.
Okay, you too. Thank you.
If you like what you heard, head on over to thedigitalmarketingblueprint.com and download your own blueprint to begin mapping out your next online marketing program for your own organization. Again, I'm your host, Brandon Dietrich, and we look forward to connecting with you soon.